well and in good spirits. It's the even more fabulous Mother Love coming to you live and in living color with the very handsome Mr. Charles Mattocks. We got so much to talk about. Welcome to the program again. Okay, let me set it up. Okay, I just went right there. This is Charles Mattocks. He is Matlocks. He is a diabetes advocate. He is a best-selling author. He's an entrepreneur, and as fine as he is, he too
Oh.
has type 2 diabetes. Oh, look, we make it look good, because some people, they look like they've been rolled hard and put away wet. So it's good to have you back on the show. It's good to
I
see you. Happy
know.
New Year, happy birthday, happy Kwanzaa, happy
Y-
Hanukkah, happy Arbor Day, happy
happy all of that. Happy
happy,
all. No, it's good to see you and good to be back. I mean, it's been a minute,
yeah.
but I've been checking you online and seeing you doing your thing, and I'm like, man, I got to get back over there.
Now
You know.
what you're trying to be brand new, y'all. All they gotta do is pick up the phone, call my love is Charles. I'm like, okay, baby, come on in. Just like they did, and that's why you're here.
Facts.
So
Yeah.
since our last date, what have you been up to? Just give us.
Ah, mother love, I've been
Okay, before
busy. I've
that,
been busy.
let's preface with who you are and how you got to be here and what you do. This is Charles,
Yeah.
but you tell the story.
Oh, well, man, obviously I started in the industry a long time ago, and I don't drop names, but obviously I'm proud of my uncle's movie getting ready to come out. But
Okay,
inspired
I'll,
by my
I'll drop the name. Okay, I'll drop the name. He's
uh
Bob Marley's nephew. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
Bob. Yeah, him,
yeah.
him, him, Bob Marley nephew. That's a blood
I
nephew
yes, ma,
right
yes,
there.
ma.
Okay, and
So
then
inspired, yeah. And
how
so
long did it take for them to get that? Shut up, mother.
I
Go ahead,
know. So
I'm
so
sure.
so no, that's all right. So inspired by him, started off in music, then did TV and did real well in that TV and films. Nominated for, Golden Globe awards for starring in movies with such people as James Woods, Elizabeth McGovern, Cuba Gooding Jr., Omar Epps, the whole nine. And then did well with that and moved to Florida and picked up something that was kind of like a little cooking thing that I came up with. But it helped open up a lot of doors. We were just joking about that online,
Mhm,
and it was around health.
mhm.
And at that point, I had cookbooks and sauces and everything like that. And I'm thinking I'm healthy. I think I know what I'm doing. And then I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Smack you in the face.
Yeah, about 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And I was blown away, because I didn't know anything about diabetes, and especially as a black man living in America at the age I was just, astonished. And then I kind of wanted to use my platform because I had been on a bunch of television shows from everything from, Today Show, Dr. Oz, everything like that, and then realized that I had a way that I could actually reach people. And I started shooting this documentary, and it really opened my eyes to the business of healthcare, not so much about diabetes, of course, diabetes, but also number one, the people, like we were just talking about at times, because type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle condition that, we are in charge of our health in many ways, right? So, depending on what you eat, what you drink, how you exercise, your mindset, but then really more the business side of diabetes where this is a space where diabetes will always have the numbers. It's a killer, takes more lives than AIDS and cancer combined. It's the number one cause of everything from retinopathy to heart disease to kidney disease to blindness to dialysis, you name it. And it's still very much so a disease that's almost not even talked about anymore because, to be honest, it's almost as if people don't care about type 2 diabetes anymore, right? There's little to no advertising, little to no push out there. But then started to create other shows. I created the first ever diabetes docu-reality series that aired on Discovery, and then from there I went to do cancer, which beautiful pieces. There's nothing like what we're doing right now, and I'm very proud of that.
Mhm,
Then we went on to do a bunch more, and we just finished one in Costa Rica like 3 weeks ago, based on longevity.
mhm.
And then focusing on one right now that we aim to shoot in probably Cayman Islands in June, focused on menopause. So the series really is like a form.
Wait, we who? And people always say women have menopause. Do you believe that men can go through menopause as well? And why
Well,
they
they do. Yeah,
why I call it menopause? Why is it called
they
menopause?
do they do have something that men deal with that is in a sense related to menopause, but obviously not the same thing that women deal with. But they do have, and then men also deal with menopause from a standpoint of dealing, having to deal with or go through things with the person that they love, whether it's a wife, girlfriend, or whatever it may be. They also have to go through that journey with them too as well. So but the template that I built is kind of like, if you ever seen My 600 Pound Life. It's such a great series because it's really about advocating for the people who are living with conditions, right? Because all of these conditions, whether it's sickle cell, diabetes, cancer, whatever it may be, menopause, there's little to no advocacy, meaning that the people have no information, and I'm sure you see it all the time. Mother love that there are people with diabetes who don't have a clue, right? They've been on medication, metformin or some other drug, and they have no idea what to eat, what to drink. They have no understanding of what this even disease is. For sickle cell, there's little to no advocacy. Cancer, little to no unless they're pushing a drug on someone.
See,
That's the only time you're going to see a commercial for
only
something.
time you hear about it. And now,
Yeah,
in the diabetes community, there are so many different modalities that people can go. What is it? Jardians, they got their own little song, and
yeah,
Uvel, all these different ones. Ozempic. I'm on Ozempic, and I couldn't get it for 6 weeks because people who have that don't have type 2 diabetes
yeah,
are buying it out. My
yeah,
thing was, how are they getting these prescriptions from the doctor when the doctor knows that they don't have diabetes?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
what I wanted to know, because
yeah.
it is a prescription medication. And
Right.
they kept saying, well, my love, we'll put you on Jardians. I didn't tolerate that well, and then,
Yeah,
and when you said a really powerful thing, which is, where we come in to
yeah,
share the knowledge, to let people know that we understand, we know this firsthand, and this is what you can do. Take a proactive approach to your health care.
yeah,
And they don't even talk to the doctor, don't ask the doctor questions. Doctor just says, okay, you got sugar, you just take this. They never say, well, what is this? If
yeah,
I'm taking some other medication, how will this react? My doctors, my primary care physicians, my pharmacists, we all work in tandem to make sure I stay this fabulous and this beautiful with such
of
an
course.
ugly chronic disease. I told you this is work. And they really don't. This is what breaks my heart, Charles. A
Yeah,
lot of, especially these your people,
yeah,
especially your people,
yeah,
to me, they act like and they feel hopeless. And then
yeah,
they're like, well, why bother? If it's something gonna give me, so why can't I eat my pork and my chitlins and my Oreo cookies? And what difference does it make? One of my aunts was stricken with type 2 diabetes, God rest her
mm,
soul.
mhm,
And she had got so out of control, both of her legs were amputated.
mm,
Both of her legs are amputated. We go to see her in the rehab place, and
yeah,
she's sitting in the day room. This was after the second leg got amputated, and she's sitting in the day room. She just happy as a pig in slop. She turned around, she's like, "Oh, baby, there go my niece and my nephew." We come over to her to give her a big. She got a bag of Lorna Doones this big,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I said, "Well, Auntie, I don't think you're supposed to be eating that many Lorna Doones. You can have Lorna Doone, but you can't. You don't need this
yeah,
big bag in front of you."
yeah, yeah,
This is what she said to me. Well, they didn't cut my legs off, and I might as well eat whatever I want.
yeah, yeah,
And I was like, that's not how this works. That's not
yeah,
how
mm,
this works. And
no,
I've seen this disease devastate families because of the lack of knowledge.
yeah.
Because this is a challenge. What have been some of the challenges that you've seen, that you've had to deal with along your diabetes journey? Oh, and the show he was talking about, the little cooking show. I know he don't want to talk about, but the poor chef. And it was a cute little show, I'm gonna tell you. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it was cute, and I watched it because of you. And I'm like, he wouldn't look poor in a gunny sack. You could put a burlap sack on him, and people be like, I think I'm like, you add a couple of sleeves to it. I could wear that too as a woman. And so and sometimes you do stuff and you go, okay, you're glad that you did it because
Yeah, Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad I did it because, when I moved from Los Angeles, like I said, I was on top of the game. I was
Mhm.
doing work with, doing cast read-throughs with Oprah, had all the casting directors in my back pocket. I was supposed to, I had the lead role in, a big TV show. What was that? CSI. Was supposed to play that lead in that. I mean, I was on and popped, then moved to Florida to be a single dad, and kind of was like didn't know what to do. So my son had said, "This is the time that a lot of cooking shows really weren't popping."
Mhm.
It was like one or two, like Iron Chef, so on and so forth. And he said, "Wouldn't it be cool to see real people make real meals on TV?" And I said, "Wow, that's a great idea." So came up with this idea, just being creative, because obviously creative people always create.
Mhm.
And went to a local network and said, "Hey, you know what? Here's a great idea. You take two people who can cook a meal for a healthy meal for over only $7." And it ran with it. Like I said, I was able to be on a ton of talk shows, and from CNN, Dr. Rod's The Today Show, Good Morning America, you name it, cookbooks, sauce lines, spice lines. So it did open up a door. And then, like I said, because I had that new path of this whole health thing,
Mhm.
that's how it kind of led. So when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it was like, you know what? Let me use this lane that I created, and get in here and be a face for diabetes. So, but no, it's been a beautiful ride. I wouldn't change anything for the world. I mean, obviously, I've learned and we've grown, and now we're a full production company that produce beautiful television shows. They all air on networks such as PBS, Discovery, Cox. Um, Man, I know I'm missing a Tubi, Glued TV. They air all over the place, and we're doing well, and we're growing and focusing on a lot of different content, a lot of different topics, real beautiful topics that actually touch and save lives. I mean, even the stuff we do that we've done for diabetes has literally changed lives. We've seen people lose weight. We've seen people reverse their type 2 diabetes. We've seen them come off of insulin. We've seen them, reduce their other medication. And it's a reality. And the sad reality is that, like your family member, is that there are a lot of people who, because navigating the system is a very hard task, that they don't get to see a diabetes educator. They don't get to see an endocrinologist. They don't know what a nutritionist is, right? And doctors are not trained on nutrition. So when a doctor says, "Yeah, well, you got to cut down on this, and I need you to eat healthy for a few months, come back and see me." Well, what does eat healthy mean, right? I mean, it could go from drinking, say you're drinking Coke, to Diet Coke, or it could go from,
Okay.
you know, you
Okay,
know,
okay. Wait, shut up, mother love, because you know that is so wrong. And then a lot of people don't want to hear it. You get the
yeah,
pushback, especially for when I got diagnosed, and I don't know what made me think that I would be immune to it.
yeah,
Everybody in my family has some form of diabetes, type 1, type 2,
yeah,
type
yeah,
3, here beady, there beady, everywhere diabetes.
yeah,
And and they took it with a grain of salt.
yeah,
I don't know how you could forget to eat.
yeah,
I was never gonna forget to eat.
yeah, yeah,
I forget that I don't need to eat that much, but I'm
yeah,
not gonna forget to eat. And
yeah.
my sister, she had gestational diabetes. She didn't get it till
Hmm.
she was pregnant. My
Yeah,
younger sister was the first person I ever knew that had diabetes. Didn't even know what it was.
yeah,
I didn't even know it had like a medical name, right?
yeah,
My
yeah,
mother, my mother, she, how some people change jobs.
yeah,
My mother changed professions. She wanted to
yeah,
be a school teacher. She got went and got her stuff to be a school teacher. She was a nurse. She didn't change jobs. She just, I think I'm gonna run this nonprofit. I was like, okay, mom, we didn't know what a nonprofit was. It just didn't even sound right. What, no
yeah,
money is coming in? I
yeah,
didn't know what nonprofit is. And
yeah,
anyway, my younger sister was the first person that I ever knew that had any kind of diabetes, and it was like it was terrifying to her. She's
yeah,
what, 9, 10 years old, and she's
yeah,
got to take insulin shots for the rest of her life.
yeah,
And we didn't have as much information like we do now
yeah,
about diabetes, especially, we've gone from, people with type 1 diabetes peeing on a strip to see where their ketones are, where they're, till, you could put a little thing on your arm now and just,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so the technology has moved fast, but people's attitudes toward it and toward being able to manage it, because it is very difficult. One of the things you just said was diabetes, type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
dieting doesn't work. I eat whatever I want to eat. I eat it off a small plate.
Yeah.
These are techniques that you can learn, and a lot of them just don't want to learn. A lot of them just feel like they do not deserve to be in good health.
Yeah. No, health, health is man, I can't you can't stress good health enough. And I always say you have to have a little bit of vanity, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because how many times, Mother Love, have we looked at our Facebook friends from and classmates, and we look and we say, "My God, what happened to them?" You know, what I mean, they're overweight, they're out of shape, they're looking crazy, man. They look 30, 50, 30 years older than what we are. We don't even want some of them on our timeline just because I don't want no
Ooh,
old man and old woman looking crazy on my timeline, and folks think I'm older than what I am
I
because I got
see. Now you know you is
a bunch
wrong as
of
two left shoes. You know you wrong. He said, I don't even want them on my timeline.
yeah,
And
yeah. People's
they
like,
always want to date me. I'm telling you, I ain't got no problem with it. I turned 70 years to that, just
yeah,
29 a month ago. A
yeah,
month ago.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, and looking fabulous. Yeah,
I'm like, wait, hold up. See,
yeah,
I'm telling you, it didn't hit me until I was like, okay, if I don't do something about this,
yeah,
I might drop dead. And
yeah,
people in my
yeah,
family and my friends were dropping dead as a
yeah,
result of ill
yeah,
managed diabetes. I'm talking about one day I'm talking to them, two
yeah,
days later they call me, girl, so and so had a heart attack.
yeah,
And it took me a while because I know my mother and my older sister, and I think my baby sister all died from diabetes induced heart attacks.
mm,
You
mm-hmm.
know, and
Yeah,
their hearts just gave out. And I remember when I first got diagnosed, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I
yeah,
just,
yeah,
had my little pity party,
yeah,
got
yeah,
myself together. How am I gonna make this work for me and
yeah,
anybody else that I would, because
yeah.
what they used to call it and they still do what they call it in our neighborhood. What they call
Sugar,
diabetes?
sugar.
A
Yeah,
and it's a little sugar.
a
Right?
touch of
It's
sugar. Yeah,
just a touch. This is
yeah,
sugar. Mm,
yeah,
kicking
yeah,
you on your forehead. And they used
yeah,
to tell, come on over here and get Big Mama some sugar.
yeah,
I'm like, oh,
yeah.
where's her leg? Why she only got one leg in the chair? What's
Uh,
going on? And I'm thinking, not putting the two together. I don't think I want sugar from them. I don't think I want, and I thought older
yeah,
people kissing on a kid would give you sugar.
yeah,
So I was
yeah.
like, real reluctant. No, I don't want that coming off on me. Because
Uh,
when you got crazy people in your family like I do, my crazy run off, comes off to other people. She
yeah,
crazy. We can't help that. And
yeah,
I knew that I knew that I wanted to make better choices. I
yeah,
remember I was standing on a red carpet going to see James Brown, like I had never
mm,
seen it before, right? I've seen
yeah,
James Brown a bunch of times. Got
uh-huh,
all kind of pictures, dance with him. We disrupting stuff as we go along. And I was
yeah,
sitting on the red carpet pole, and I just felt all my energy drain out of me.
wow,
And I told my husband, I said, I want to go. I need to go
yeah,
home. He said, what's
wow,
the matter? He said, I had a strange look on my face. And I didn't say anything from the time we got in the car all the way home. I don't even take my coat off. I get in the kitchen, I'm leaning on my cabinet, on my counter. And he said, what's the matter? I said, baby, I feel like I'm dying.
yeah,
I feel like I'm being crushed from the
wow,
inside out. And I felt that, and I was at that time the heaviest I had ever been in my family. And
yeah,
listen, I'm vertically challenged as it
yeah.
already is. And so carrying 257 pounds around,
Oof,
yeah,
oof,
yeah. Oh, and I
wow,
can still step in my stiletto.
yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
tell you I had to take the shoes off in the car. I waited till I got to the car,
Yeah,
and it was seriously a lifestyle
yeah,
shift.
yeah.
Did you have that kind of epiphany as well?
I did. When I was diagnosed, I remember I went and had to look in the mirror,
Mhm.
and when I say look in the mirror, it's not just physical. It was emotional, spiritual, mental, but the physical and was the main thing. And I looked in
Mm.
that mirror. I said, "Dude, what is wrong with you, man? What is going on? What are you eating?" And at that time of the love, I was hitting the gym, but I was hitting the gym wrong. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was more lifting weights and real heavy weights and bulking up and doing arms and did no cardio. You ever see those guys in the gym? They got big arms, big chest, and a big stomach. And
I don't go to the gym. It's too
y-
sweaty. It smells
but
fun.
but you know what I'm talking
I
about,
know
though. You
exactly
know
what
what
you're
I'm
talking about.
saying?
That's why I don't go to the gym because it smells
Yeah. I was one of those guys, and
fun.
and so I said, you know what? I'm done going to the gym. And mother love, I just started walking, and then
Mhm.
from walking just around the neighborhood, and then from walking and doing some light jogging, I probably lost about 20 pounds in like a
Mhm.
month and a half.
See, you
You
didn't even
know,
see it coming, did you?
no, I knew, and I didn't even know what type of diet or what type of food to eat, and I went online. I was even more confused. Um, yeah, but I said, you know what? I'm gonna eat God's diet. Now, what is God's diet? I said, I'm gonna drink water. I said, I'm going to eat some lean meat and some vegetables, and
Mhm.
that's it. Stay away from the carbs, the starch, and the sugars. And it was life changing. But
Mhm.
type 2 diabetes can actually be a blessing, and it's sad people don't realize this before they even get it. Because I had a buddy reach out to me the other day. He said, "Oh man, I was just diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. What should I do?" They gave me some meds, and it's like I hear this all the time, and it's like, I've been preaching this thing for how long? Why do people reach out to me after they were diagnosed? Why not come to me
Hold
before
up.
they
Hold
diagnosed?
up. Wait a minute. This is not our first time at this dance. And you
Hmm.
know we do not do logic
Yeah.
before 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. See, now you're making too much sense.
Yeah.
And then you become the diabetes advocate because
Yeah.
you want to make sure they got the right information. So now here
Yeah.
you are, the research king now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they wait until after they get diagnosed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did you hear this statistic? They said, especially for type 2 diabetes, by the time we are diagnosed with the disease,
Yeah.
we probably had it in our body unchecked for at least 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
You start feeling the symptoms, and I knew what the symptoms were. I knew what
Yeah.
it was. I watched my mother, my sisters, and my aunties and uncles. I watched all of them have the symptoms. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm moving to California.
Yeah.
That's not going
Yeah.
to affect me because I'm going to be with the beautiful people, and
Yeah.
beautiful people don't get diseases. And they were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you finna take your big behind out there to LA where they eat." And I said, "Well, no, I don't know if that's going to be the case." And people always think, and this was what got me about it, and just pulled me in. What you said about God's diet, when people got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Well, I don't want to eat diabetes food. Okay,
Yeah.
what is?
Yeah. Yeah. What is diabetes food?
I to this
Yeah.
day, I can't get to it.
Yeah.
What you mean? What is diabetes food? What is a healthy fare? What is a smarter fare? What are smarter decisions that you can make in the grocery store? The
Yeah.
biggest one for me was don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
And that
True.
okay, I couldn't understand how come I came in for, like 10 items and now I got $400 worth of stuff in a
Yeah.
shopping cart at the
Yeah.
Costco. So I had to learn how to shop over. I had to learn how to
Yeah.
cook different, learn how to eat different, what time. But once you get it, do you have it, Charles? Once you get it, did you get it? When did it hit in your head? I can do something about this for my health, for your health.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty fast because once again, you have to value your life. You have to value. I want to see my kids grow up, man. I want to do things. I want to enjoy life. I don't want to be in anybody's hospital or doctor's office or, dealing with these complications. So, but one of the things I was going to mention, Mother Love, is that I recently, and I want to say within the last 2 years, even though I've had diabetes for over 15 years now, about 15 years. It just recently, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I realized I was suffering from food addiction. There are many of us who actually suffer from food addiction, and we don't realize it. And, addiction is not, we're running out, on the corner to go find us a crack pipe. It's not always that. It could be not knowing when to put food down, not knowing when or being attracted to certain foods, whether it's rice, whether it's chocolate, whether it's juice. But I found myself going up and down and still fighting the battle, not so much of the diabetes, but fighting a battle more of the food.
Mhm.
And that would lead mother love to eating the wrong foods, which led to, me having inflammation and probably, insulin resistance and things like that, which led to keeping on the weight and also having a ton of inflammation inside of me.
Mhm.
And then I would go up and down with the weight. But probably 2 years ago, I was almost like a real drug addict, and they actually talk about that food addiction is just as comparable, if not higher, to being addicted to methamphetamines. I mean,
Mhm.
that's how strong that addiction is. And mother love, I found myself at times leaving at 12 o'clock at night to run over to 7-Eleven to go get beef patties and potato chips and all of this stuff, and couldn't even stop it. I remember one time I was with my kids, and there was like a little place that they liked, and I picked them up from school, and we were driving about 40 minutes back home, and the whole time, mother love, I'm sitting there saying, no, I'm not going to get none from there, and I'm fighting myself,
Mhm.
and and I ended up getting something. I lost the battle, and I ended up getting something from there. So it's a lot of us suffer from that, and we have no clue. We think that when the weekends come, or we have our cheat days, or we have the barbecues or the family reunions, or some kind of anniversary or something, we're going to be going over there and cheating and doing and eating the way we shouldn't be eating and drinking the way we shouldn't be drinking. And we have to really, take a look in the mirror and realize that a lot of us, millions of us, are suffering from food addiction, and we have to have self control. With diabetes, especially type 2 diabetes, it's really about self control. Like I said, whoever's hearing this right now, first thing go do is go look in the mirror, and
Period.
and and I
Go look in the
say,
mirror naked. I mean,
get
go
go
look
look in the
in the
mirror, go
mirror
look in the
naked.
mirror naked, go
Go
look in the
look
mirror
in the
naked.
mirror naked. And I mean, and actually, when you see the last piece of clothes fall off, and you not looking in the mirror, but then you look up in
Yeah,
the mirror
look
so
in that
you can
mirror,
see you.
and then
I saw a comedy routine when I did it, and I
yeah,
said, "Okay, well, yeah, I did." I mean, the knees alone is a comedy routine. I didn't even have to say nothing. Just put them up, and now that the girls done went south,
yeah,
I
oh,
mean, one day they're perky, the next day they're, like, sitting on my knees. I'm like, "Well,
yeah, yeah,
oh, I did." When I talk about that with young people, they just I said,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
yes, young people, chuckle
yeah,
while you will. Chuckle,
exactly.
you go
Yours will
and
soon be,
live
yeah,
forward.
yeah,
You go. I could be dead. I might not be dead. I've decided not to do
yeah,
that whole dying thing. I,
yeah,
I'm I'm just so over that. So I told him there's two things I was trying not to do that I have to do, and that was I would say you have to do so and such and such. You have
yeah,
to. I had a nutritionist like that. Well,
yeah,
she didn't last. She didn't last through the whole first
yeah,
appointment. She was like 300 pounds.
yeah,
And I heard her coming down the hallway, and they said, "Get a nutritionist, Monroe. We're gonna get you a nutritionist." Got the nutritionist.
yeah,
Go for the appointment. This is her. She got a pad. She come down the hallway.
yeah,
I kid you not. I would have never, ever, ever, ever would have thought that was the lady who was going to give me nutritional
yeah,
advice. That's
yeah,
like me
yeah,
taking marital advice for somebody who ain't never been married or they've
yeah,
been
yeah,
married 11 times. Now, if
yeah.
you don't know nothing about this here, you can't
True,
teach me what you do not know.
true,
So
true,
I got in
true,
the car. I said, you know what? I'm gonna tell you this right now. Before you start flipping open books, I'm not gonna hear a word
true,
you're saying because
true,
what my word is. Why don't you get yourself checked out?
true.
And she
Exactly.
was red as a beet. She was out of breath. See, this is the
Yeah,
difference between fat people and big people. Big
yeah.
people, we can sit down in a chair like that. Fat people, they sit down in a
Mhm.
chair, the meat still moving. You gotta wait a few seconds for it to all stop. Like sit up in the
True.
chair, then got to shift. You got to get your knees right and carrying on. And I was like, mm-mm. And I did not want that for myself. And I
Yeah,
didn't want that for my family members. I didn't want that for my friend. I didn't want that for anybody.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so be it. I mean, I remember when I got diagnosed with diabetes, and I had just quit smoking cigarettes.
yeah,
I had smoked for 20 years.
yeah,
20 years. Wasn't a heavy smoker. They said I was a punk smoker because I put the cigarettes in the freezer, and it
yeah.
would take me like 3-4 days to smoke a pack of cigarettes. That's what I
Uh-huh.
didn't understand. And when you talked about you a food addict,
Yeah,
I was a food uh, uh, a stress eater. An
Yeah.
emotional eater. That's what they said I was. I was diagnosed an emotional eater. And
Yeah.
that's about as bad as being a food addict, I would think.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
did they put you on medication? Have you ever been on insulin?
Yeah, they no, not insulin, but metformin,
Oh,
and I never took it. I never took it. I mean, I started to later on just because I felt number one, I didn't know
mhm,
any better.
mhm.
Even though they're looking at metformin right now, which is they're looking at it as a so-called anti-aging drug because it slows the absorption of sugar. So even people who don't have type 2 diabetes take metformin, especially people who are into the biohacking and things like that.
Wait,
But
what's biohacking?
biohacking is like the new frontier in longevity and anti-aging and stuff like that. So so yeah, so some people, a lot of people, take it for that.
Mhm,
But and to go back to what we were talking about when you're looking at mirror, not only looking at mirror like you said without the clothes off, right? Because not everybody's going to be per se overweight, but
mhm,
it, it, remember yourself 10, 15 years younger. Remember yourself as when you were in high school, and remember how attractive you looked. Remember, and not saying that that you're not, but remember those days when you had it, that body was together.
mhm.
Sometimes you have to be a little bit vain because once again, like we were talking about, seeing our some of our friends on Facebook, and I hope some of them hear it and look in that mirror and say, "Ooh, man, I gotta shave this off. I gotta cut this down." You know what I'm saying? In a nice way, because we all have to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't do that, that's when the problems will arise. But if you do that and have that vanity, a little bit of vanity where you say, no, man, I'm not gonna look like this. I gotta get myself together. And you focus on that,
Okay, so
you know.
I just want people to know this is my friend Charles, and he is a diabetes advocate, a best-selling author, an entrepreneur, a single dad. So you still single? We'll get to that part later. Don't even tell nothing about and we both have type 2 diabetes. And the first thing they put on a newly diagnosed person with type 2 diabetes is metformin.
Yeah.
I had never I'm not a big sweet eater. I don't drink soda. I don't eat red meat anymore. I don't eat pork. Okay, I modified my diet and what
Hmm.
have you. And they put me on metformin. The first thing I asked was, what is this going to do to my body? And this,
Hmm.
and they put you on a medication. The box is about like this big, and then they got the little, the little thing in it with all the information. You open it up,
Yeah.
and who in the heck knows what they're saying? You got to be a chemist to be able to break down the formula. They know good well we don't know what they're saying, but they say,
Yeah.
well, the FDA says we got to put everything in there, and seasoned citizen, then you got to go get a magnifying glass to, just to put over so you
Yeah.
can read it. That I
Yeah.
think is unfair. We have to learn to ask questions. And what metformin did for the adverse effect it had on me, it had me craving carbohydrates. I was eating a big
Mm.
piece of bread. I could find biscuits. I'd be up in the
Wow.
middle of the night making biscuits from scratch. I just want a hot
Wow.
biscuit with some butter. Okay, why am I eating biscuits at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I worked at night from
Yeah.
9 to 1 in the morning. And I'm on the
Wow.
radio and there's nothing open,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna start, stop by, any place dark coming from LA
Yeah.
over where I live. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is insane. This was
Yeah.
just insane. And so then I
Yeah.
said, okay, I gotta go. And I was experiencing all of the symptoms. I
Mm.
had excessive thirst, literally, where I could put
Mhm.
my mouth over. You know how when you're a little kid, you put your mouth over with a
Yeah,
hole,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I could drink, and you drinking a lot of water because the salt is, drying out your
Wow.
body. And then I knew every bathroom, and people knew I knew every bathroom from my house till I got off
Yeah.
the freeway and went to the
Yeah.
radio station. I'd be like,
Wow.
hey,
Wow.
this mother, can I please use your bathroom? 'Cause if you're
Wow.
drinking a lot, you got to go to the bathroom a lot.
Man.
And I have a sunny personality. I
Yeah.
was so agitated to the point I could have been metal. I said, this is not making, and that's another thing people with diabetes and other chronic diseases don't want to talk about, the
Yeah.
mental health issue
Yeah.
that you have to
Yeah.
deal with, the
Yeah.
depression,
Yeah.
the loneliness. Did you ever feel like that when you got diagnosed? Did you want to tell people?
Yeah, I wanted to tell people. I think once again, the more of the addiction is obviously that's a mental health issue, and that at times can really put you in the wrong place, because at times you mother love, you at times you want to do what's right, and I would go 2 weeks and I'd be doing amazing, wasn't losing any weight for whatever reason. I could literally starve myself and wouldn't leave lose a pound. But then after that 2 weeks, even though I was doing fantastic, man, I would relapse and I'd have 4 or 5 bad days and it would throw me off, and it would, so that spiral was always kind of present, as far as, man, how can I do good so, for so long and then screw it all up in 4 days, and be like some drug addict, some food addict. And so and then, you'd look in the mirror and you feel heavy. Sometimes you'd have the aches and pains in the morning from the inflammation. You didn't know what it was from, per se. And then the other issues, especially if you have some elevated labs, you're like, oh man, what am I doing? And so, with diabetes comes a lot of them. It's an emotional roller coaster, and I really feel bad for people who aren't taking it as serious, or on 3, 4 medications, very high medications, and still eating wrong. And we see that all the time. Like you said, I would be around people who have type 2 diabetes and still around them, and they're eating just like McDonald's and the fast foods, and then taking their medication. And remember, it's diabetes is something that goes along with the other comorbidities, such as high blood pressure, cholesterol issues. Even though cholesterol is debatable now, but you
Well,
know, com-
they're practicing medicine. It's not absolute. We need to know that, and people with type 2 diabetes who don't want to follow the dietary instructions, don't want to follow what their doctor says, don't want to take their medications like they're supposed to take their medications, and don't ask questions. They
yeah,
don't think, the doctor. I tell people this all the time. When you walk into the doctor's office, the doctor doesn't go, how many Charles, I know your blood sugar numbers.
yeah,
Poof.
yeah,
First thing the doctor says is, how you feeling?
yeah.
What are you here for today? Well, I feel all right. Well, I'm here because y'all told me to come in for an appointment.
Mm,
Oh, you just always know what you're going to the doctor for. And that was
yeah.
one of the things I had started doing, going to the doctors especially with the seasoned citizens. I don't call them senior citizens. They
Mm,
got flavor. We got flavor.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
and to ask the questions, and tell me how I would have them write down what they wanted to ask them, and they would sit there and wouldn't say nothing. I'm doing all the talking. I'm like, now you do know you're going to have to go home with these instructions, right? And they still don't want to do it. Oh, it's
yeah.
something's gonna give me. Oh, I'm 70 something years old. Oh, my thing is this. If I knew, see, you can't tell me God don't have a sense of humor, because if I had known that I would live this long, I would have
Mm,
taken way better
yeah,
care.
better care of yourself. Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
where
yeah.
did the grown grandchildren come from? These people cannot be my grandchildren. Who are these people? This guy comes in the house. I'm like, hey, ma, how you doing? He got a gray beard. I'm like,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
did that happen? And we do look
yeah.
good. We do good.
Uh-huh,
And it's
uh-huh.
mine is hair, makeup, and wardrobe. So
Yeah.
I got to get spackled on a regular basis. So I grain of salt. But you were saying that you've heard some smatterings, excuse me, about people taking metformin to stop the aging process.
Yeah, yeah, they're doing a lot of studies on that. Like I said, there are doctors who take it. There are health people who take it. Very healthy people who actually still take it, just because, once again, it helps stabilize blood sugar, and which is not a bad thing. So I do take it every now and then, just once again, because it does, slow the absorption of sugar,
Mhm.
which is, something that our body needs at times, so that it's not a bad thing. But once again, it's still debatable, and they're still doing tests, so it's not, they'll I'm sure they'll come to some conclusion soon.
It worked a number on me. Let me tell you.
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
told I'm up in the middle of the night making biscuits from scratch.
Mm,
Who
mm,
does that?
yeah, yeah.
So
Sometimes,
I knew it was a mental issue, and that was a hard part to accept because we think that we know what's best for us, and we could do whatever we want. And then when all
Yeah.
the pieces parts start breaking down, then you went to the doctor. Oh, doctor, fix me! I know you're telling me to stop smoking cigarettes,
Yeah.
and that smoking was going to cause my veins to shrink and blood couldn't get to all my body parts. Why my foot so
Yeah.
black? What is
But
this on my foot?
but 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 I did want to ask you because, you know, I, one of the things I realized I had to do was really pivot when it came to diabetes
Mhm,
because I kind of find myself being that lone man on the island. How are you, and you're still going strong with the diabetes? How
mhm,
are you able to, just keep navigating in the business, um, being an advocate and doing a radio show on diabetes when at times, let's face it, for advocates in diabetes, there's very little support. These companies aren't knocking on our door to say, hey, listen, here's a few dollars so you can keep doing what you're doing.
mhm,
um and even now, so it's almost a non-existent conversation about diabetes. You see almost little to no PSAs or
mhm,
ads unless they're pushing a drug. Nobody's even really, there's no community per se of diabetes anymore. And not that it was a big one, but at least 15 years ago, there were at least a lot more people kind of talking about it and pushing it. You had different organizations that were really doing a lot more. You had more independent people and advocates like me and yourself,
mhm.
who were talking about it. You'd see more stuff on YouTube and things. How are you still so strong and able to keep pushing it
Because
yourself?
I have a strong support system. My husband and our son. We only got one son. My
Hmm.
husband and my friends, the
Hmm.
ones who really loved, who genuinely loved me and did not care about me being mother love. They cared
Yeah.
about me,
Yeah.
and they all. I learned how to cook differently.
Yeah.
I learned how to be creative in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, what do I cook it? What am I cooking the food in? I
Yeah.
love to grill. I love to bake. I blacken, I saute. And I remember when I first had to change my dietary habits because I'm dairy intolerant. And so,
Hmm.
and I'm always combing the stores, the specialty stores, see what they have that I can modify my diet
Hmm.
with. You can
Hmm.
eat whatever you want to eat. You just don't get to eat the whole cake. You can have
Hmm.
a slice of cake. You can have a
Hmm.
slice of pie. It don't have to be this big. You don't have to have
Hmm.
two dessert plates coming from the buffet. Do you really need all of that food? And
Hmm.
finding out how my body worked. You know,
Hmm.
a woman's stomach is as big as like your heart is as big. Your heart and your fist and your stomach about the same size. Period.
Hmm.
And so when they talk about measuring food and putting it on the plate, okay, I wasn't into the whole measuring and weighing the food and carrying on. I just started eating off a smaller plate.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
made one half of my plate, all the vegetables and all the colors and everything. And a quarter was my protein and a quarter was my carbohydrates. This is
Hmm.
what tripped me out when the nutritionist and the powers that be start saying the body needs carbs. You can't
Hmm.
starve your body without carbs. We
Hmm.
don't do that to your body. It
Hmm.
works a certain way. And we
Hmm.
want to circumvent the way God meant for our body to work. Because what we
Hmm.
get? Free will. Now,
Hmm.
everything that the human body is supposed to digest that will be good for us, what you call it, God's food.
Hmm.
I'm sure you know Robert Ferguson. Uh,
Yeah, 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 yeah. No more.
I know
Yeah.
you. Everybody know Robert Ferguson in the diabetes. What have you? And one of his programs is food as medicine, medicine as food. This
Yeah.
goes all the way back to Hippocrates or Galileo or somewhere way back there. One of them I missed the party and they weren't talking to me no more. So I had to get
Yeah.
other people to tell me was it
Hmm.
Aristotle or Hippocrates, one of them. But
Yeah.
anyway, when we start, you could pull it out the ground.
Yeah.
You could pull it from a tree. You
Yeah.
could catch it in the ocean and the river.
Yeah.
And you could eat fish raw, sushi. I
Yeah.
learned to make my own sushi. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Pretty. I'm getting
Love
pretty good at it.
love it. Love
Actually, it's lox. I haven't really like jumped into it.
it.
And the fact that my husband had said to our son when we sat down
Hmm.
and we told him, he said, "Your mother has type 2 diabetes, like your
Yeah.
grandmother and your
Yeah.
aunts and your uncles, and we're gonna have to change how we eat
Yeah.
because we're not gonna expect her to cook." you know, 2 different meals, one for her and one
Yeah.
for us.
Oh
She has
boy.
diabetes. We're going to, follow in that protocol because she
Yeah.
doesn't do all the cooking. So
Yeah.
don't tick off your mama. You don't
Yeah.
tick off
Yeah.
the bank of the person with your food. Food with them people, you don't food with the doctor. And so our son sat there and he was like, okay, I could do
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I had already quit eating beef when I came. Haven't eaten beef for like 45 something years. And
Wow.
I didn't know giving up beef back in the day, you have to give up Oreo cookies and Jello because they had
Yeah.
animal fat stuff in them. Okay, that's the
Yeah.
purpose. So reading your
Yeah.
label. That's
Yeah.
another thing we don't do.
Uh-huh.
The FDA says put all the ingredients on it, tell them what it is, the whole 9 yards. And I just see people grabbing stuff off the shelf. They don't stop to compare what is in it, how's
Yeah.
it going to affect them. And so my husband said, okay, we're going to eat like she eats.
Yeah.
And so one day, and they know I love macaroni and cheese, okay, but
Yeah.
I'm dairy intolerant. So I found a soy cheese. I
Yeah.
found 2 kinds of soy cheese. I
Mm-hmm.
made macaroni and cheese, and I was sitting there eating, and I didn't even think my son was paying attention. And he said, "Dad, Mom is feeding us fake food. She eat macaroni and cheese. Mom can't eat
Mm-hmm.
macaroni and cheese. What's in this macaroni and cheese? This ain't
Mm-hmm.
real food no more." And that was like after he had ate up half of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then he gonna tell me it's fake food. And I
Yeah.
said to people, who come to me, even in pre-diabetes, was people. The ADA says there 89 million people with
Yep.
pre-diabetes.
Yep.
We're
Yep.
an epidemic,
It's a
and people
pandemic.
don't want to pay attention. And it comes because there's not enough information being fed to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and I are in the neighborhoods with them. I was asking people in the Black and Latino community, did they know what the ADA stood for?
Yeah.
And if I asked 10 people that question, 4 of them said, I don't know what it stands for. The other 4 said the American Dental Association.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That made me go and I've been working with the American Diabetes Association since my sister was diagnosed, and I wanted to
Yeah.
see what the new plans was and the modalities and everything. Then I found out that the medical profession is not looking to cure
Yeah.
diabetes
Yeah.
or cure cancer or
No.
cure
No.
some of these
No.
curable diseases, these situations,
Yeah.
because it's too much money to be made.
Well, you would bankrupt a system, right? If you cured diabetes, you'd bankrupt a whole healthcare system because everything from cemeteries to hospitals to cardiac events to dialysis, all of these would go out of business if you cure diabetes.
That's and when I looked at it, the way that because we think
Yeah,
about just diabetes in the medical profession.
yeah,
We just came off of a really hard strike with SAG-AFTRA against the producers. We
yeah,
had to go on strike. And the producers had said, "Oh, when they can't pay their rent and their house, no, they'll take whatever deal we get them." They said we
yeah,
was only going to be on strike for like maybe 2 weeks,
yeah,
maybe a month.
yeah,
Okay, but then you want to have all the control over here and don't want to give us anything. And I'd
yeah,
like, the lack of information in the diabetes community because they don't want to come out into our
yeah,
neighborhoods. So I
yeah,
said, I'll go. And
yeah.
I did the Mother Love Diabetes Bus and Truck Tour. Okay, we never did
Yes,
have a
I
truck.
love that. I
But
love that.
still,
Yeah,
I did health fairs, I went to hospitals, I did speeches in churches, and we were starting to make, this many much of a headway. And I was backed by, Novo Nordisk.
yo, there
They
you go.
one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the
Yeah,
world,
yeah,
in the world.
yeah,
And that we did that for like 7 years. So I
yeah,
know that I left some footprints in these neighborhoods where people didn't want to go.
yeah,
They didn't want to go into the backwoods of Mississippi or Alabama, where diabetes is running through generations.
yeah,
I remember we were doing this show, D-Light, and
yeah. I remember
family
that.
came on. Remember D-Light? This
Yeah.
family came on. And
Mother
so,
love, quick question. Can I know we got a few more minutes.
oh,
I just
you
gotta,
got all the time you
can
want.
I open the door for my kid? I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You can talk.
Oh, now you gonna keep the child out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hold
go
on
get
one
your baby.
second. Hold
Go
on,
get your
hold
baby.
on, hold on.
But I remember that when I was talking to them about doing this bus and truck tour with Novo Nordisk, they said, well, nobody's ever done anything like that. Where'd you get that idea from? I said, from Wheel of Fortune. They got a bus to go around and get contestants. Why don't we have a bus and truck go around to give people the information that they could use and go into their communities, go into their churches? I didn't care if it was a church that only had 10 congregation members or if it had 10,000. I mean, I would go into the churches and the mega churches. My church home, West Angeles Church of God in Christ, and November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and so we would go. We go during Diabetes Awareness Month, and I ask the same question every year. By a show of hands, how many of you have or know somebody that has diabetes, whatever the diabetes is? And I'm telling you, the sea of hands that went up, it was just it was just heartbreaking. And I work to put some levity, some brevity in it, so people don't feel like that this is a dark cloak of diabetes over them, and they can't, push the cloak off and see the light, that they can, make smarter choices. They can make better choices when they go to the grocery store, and planning out what it is. And I used to then plan meals. I come from the projects. You ate whatever they put on the table, and that was the end of that. And that's how we found out my younger sister had diabetes, because I'm a slow eater by nature. We sit at the table eating. I turn around and talk to my sister, or somebody else that's at the dinner table with us doing whatever. And I turn around, they done bit off half of my chicken. I said, well, you ain't look like, you didn't seem like you wanted that piece of chicken. You over there talking, bone be clean. And
Mm,
they would eat off to everybody, and they would get to my little sister's plate, and the food was so salty.
crazy.
And I said to my mother, I said, Mama, something wrong with her. And she said,
Yeah.
what you mean? I said, well, don't nobody want to eat after her. You know how the fellas eat off everybody's plate. If we had a dog, they'd probably, if the dog ate food, they'd say, oh, the dog, it's all right, we can eat. And my mother knew right away
Mm,
what the deal was, because she had been a nurse, and she
mm,
went to the doctor, and it was a fight to the finish. Let me tell you, I thought
mm,
we were gonna have to drug her just to get her to take her insulin shots,
mm,
because they were teaching her on an orange how to put
mhm,
the insulin in. Okay, but the orange don't have diabetes. Wouldn't we need to be teaching her how to put this in her arm, or put this in her stomach, or put this in her
mhm.
head? And so I was in college at the time. My mother said, okay, well, you come up here and you get her to do it. So I got her to do it. She hated me for the longest time. You made me be on that needle. I said, well, I made you want to be alive.
Yeah.
And back then, they didn't seem like they had a future for people with diabetes. Oh, they told my mother, oh, she probably won't make it to her 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, she'll probably won't make it to her 25th birthday. And
Yeah.
this went on and on and on. So I said, oh, so you just messing with the people in the diabetes community. You just ain't gonna die from this. And she said, oh, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she
Yeah.
passed away when she was 53. But they said
Wow.
she never make it.
Wow.
Said she would never have kids. My nephew and my niece would beg to differ with that. You know what I'm saying? And the modalities have changed, but some of them, it's the people that they just don't want to take the medication, or they don't trust the medication. Have you ever got this pushback, especially in our community? Well, I don't trust the hospital. I remember Tuskegee.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little more outdated, you
It,
know.
you would think.
Yeah, that's a little bit more outdated. I think that once again, you know, and I compare, diabetes, especially, well, of course, type 2 diabetes, to having the only gas station within 100 miles. Now, they're going to have to come to you. Pharmaceutical companies are smart. Remember, they used to spend money and have more advocates and advocacy, and I think not Martha Stewart, Paula Dean was probably one of the last big ones, right? And then they kind of had that explosion with her saying some crazy stuff. And
Mhm,
I think from then they've kind of scaled back because they realized, like the gas station that's, 1 in 100 miles radius, that they don't have to market, they don't have to advertise. Every day there's going to be thousands of people diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Every year there's going to be millions of people with type 2 diabetes. So why spend any money marketing or advertising, especially to have something kind of blow up in your face
mhm.
where you don't know what that person's going to do? I mean, I saw Anthony Anderson, who pushes diabetes drugs, but also I saw a commercial the other day where he's pushing Smirnoff, alcoholics, and it
Oh
just
yeah,
blows
huh?
it blows me away. I'm like, this dude, how you gonna push, a diabetes drug, but then you're pushing alcohol, So the message is so convoluted, and there are no advocates really right now in diabetes. I mean,
Well, you
they
and
pay
I, we're still
yeah,
here.
they
We
yeah, they
still, we're
pay
still at.
well, yeah, they don't pay us, but
No, they don't pay us.
they
Not
give,
anymore.
the Jonas Brothers kid, they give him a ton of money, millions and millions of dollars. They'll finance, bicycle teams and things like that.
For the
But
sure, yep.
but amongst the black community and Latin community, there's absolutely nothing.
This is what they
And
told me,
that's
Charles.
sad.
Not to cut you out. This is what they told me. Uh, we need to sunset your program because you've been out here advocating for us for 7 years, and because I wouldn't. I told him I'm not gonna push a drug. I will
Yeah.
push the brand, but I'm not gonna
Mhm.
push the drug.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a doctor. I just played one on the internet, and so
Yeah.
I said I'm not gonna push a drug. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do that, and I said, and we can do that, and it worked well. I mean, we used to have an annual big festival in my hometown, and everybody that I knew that was related to me, that they one guy was going around telling people we used to date. That would be like dating my brother. Are you
Yeah.
insane? But
Mhm.
people want to attach themselves to you however they can, and they
Yeah.
got when we did our first one, we didn't even think about because people had to come and we had gifts and everything again, but you had to get tested. Wanted you to get
Mhm.
tested for your blood sugar. One woman, her blood sugar was 800 over 850.
Mhm. Mhm.
850. She
Mm.
right at stroke level, right? I be tripping if my blood sugar over 150. I'm like, wait a minute, on my blood sugar to what? And so what we did the following years was we partnered with the emergency squad in our hometown, wherever we were, testing
Mhm.
people because in the ones we did, 3 people's lives were prolonged because
Mhm.
we were there and the ambulance was there to take them. One of them, they said, we
Mm.
taking her to the hospital like right now. I was
Yeah.
telling you about this family on D Life,
Yeah.
and I remember the producers coming back and they said, "Mother Love, we need you to just talk to these people before we go on camera with them." And I said,
Mhm.
"Well, why? We don't want to lose the spontaneity of this."
Mhm.
She said, "You need to talk to them. Will you just please come out?" And that was something that you didn't do. Go out and talk to the guests before because you
Yeah.
want to keep the magic on the stage.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad they had me go out there because
Yeah.
it was it was like such a huge eye opener. You got the mother, she well over 500 pounds.
Mm.
You got the daughter, she 350, 375, she big. Then you got the little boy, I think he must have been about 8 or 9. He had to weigh 250 pounds.
Mm. Mm.
For a child, that's
Mhm.
wreaking havoc on their body. And isn't this something? More children are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm- Where did we drop the ball on that?
Yeah.
Junk
Yeah.
food. It's
Yeah,
the junk
junk
food.
food, but also lack of exercise. I think the school programs definitely have changed. Back in the days, we used to live for gym, right? PE was like, man, you couldn't wait to go to PE.
Mhm.
You had some good times and some fun in PE. And a lot of that has changed, and of course the junk foods, and now we've got electric, skateboards, we have electric bikes, we have electric scooters,
Mhm.
so now people aren't even peddling these things anymore. They're
Right.
they're, they're just electric in them, and yeah. So a lot of that has changed, and the food is really poison that we're putting in our bodies. Most of us, a lot of people don't cook. I love to cook. Me personally, I actually don't like to eat out because God only knows what you get when you eat out.
Oh, no,
Um,
say
you
that.
know, so yeah, it's times have changed, but we have to remain diligent and really be focused on this one shot of life that we have, because God knows, a lot of us are going to get sick, and it doesn't have to be per se diabetes. It might be something else, right? It
Right.
might be Alzheimer's, it might be some other condition, right? I mean, people are being diagnosed every day as we speak with cancer. but but if you could avoid being sick by what you put in your mouth, um, then that really, is on you, and the onus is on us to live our best and healthiest life. We even have a series that we did call Our Body Is Our Temple, that was sponsored
Mhm.
by Dexcom, where we examined the state of health in the Black community and also in the Black church, and how
Mm,
the Black church could actually play a role. And actually, we have a series that we're working on called Reverse the Church, to
mhm,
go into the church to change the health of a whole congregation. Very big television platform.
mhm.
And so to go in there and educate and realize that with small changes, you could make dramatic changes in your life and in your health outcomes. And that, longevity, people are living, even longer and healthier lives now. And there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of things to utilize, from, CGM devices to you name it. And a lot of our people, especially in the minority community, aren't taking advantage of the CGMs and other devices, and using different per se, whether it's ketogenic, carnivore, whatever it might be, Mediterranean, low carb, to really, increase their health outcomes. So it's really important that we seek out information. I would say that anybody who's listening, that, like Socrates says, or Hippocrates, that you have to, be your own doctor,
Mhm.
and not per se look for, especially mainstream doctors, to help you, because once again, even if a doctor comes in and wants to, put you on a different, diet per se, they can. If you come in with high blood pressure or high blood sugar, they are really restricted, right? They can't say, well, here, try these supplements and change your
Oh,
diet and come back and see me,
oh,
because
no.
if
Mm-mm. They're
something
not
had
telling you. And
no,
they
if
want us
some,
to be away from the holistic healing as an option for us,
of course.
because it's too much. The first time I went to have you ever been to the ADA's scientific sessions?
Yep, 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 yep,
Okay.
yep,
Fir
yep, yep.
First time I went to one, I was just well, I was still excited when I got there, and
Yeah,
because 'cause I'm like, "It's gonna be so much information that I can get to take back to my communities."
yeah,
We at the top of the escalator, and I didn't realize I had been standing there for a minute because my husband said, "Okay, we gotta go down. You got stopping people from going down." And I turned around, it's a line of people. So I had to
yeah,
be standing there for a good minute or two.
yeah.
And I looked around, I said, "Oh, they're not trying to cure diabetes.
No,
This is way too much money, and it's on the
yeah,
backs of most of us."
of
Going
course.
to healthcare programs, being on dialysis. See, I couldn't do it. Soon they said, if your kidneys go out, you have to be on dialysis like for forever, 3 days a week. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait, but Macy's is having a sale someplace. I can't be,
yeah,
coming
yeah,
up to
yeah, yeah,
I got the
yeah,
running shoes on because Macy's having a sale. People get crazy when they see a sale sign, and
yeah,
so and that alone motivated me. And people don't read the labels; they don't know what's in their food, and
yeah,
that's the biggest reason why I shop on the peripheral because it this it, you look at just a pack of packaged donuts.
yeah,
Just go look at the package of donuts that you say, "Oh, them powdered sugar donuts gonna be good." Yeah, but see what's in them. Some of
yeah,
them don't even have food
yeah,
stuff. It's just like all chemicals. And then they
yeah,
wonder how come they're blowing up and the kid they looking like they're taking steroids or something because the kids are and the people are getting so morbidly obese.
yeah,
It's like just like you brought this up earlier, the TV show, the 600 life.
yeah.
Then I saw one that got one called My 1,000 Pound Sister.
Mm.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is not good. I saw them take the side of a woman's house out because she had not
Yeah.
been out of the bed. Her family had accommodated her. They would roll her over, and she had bed sores and everything. They said we can't get it through the door. We have to take down part of the house. My thing,
Oh
and
boy.
That's psychological. That's
Yeah.
pushing something down so deep that she could not get into, or face it. And one of the
Yeah.
things I found out about stress eating and emotional eating,
Yeah.
especially among the women, many of them have been victims of child abuse,
Yeah.
sexual abuse,
Yeah.
rapes, pregnancies that they didn't want, and they were
Yeah.
just pushing it all down, pushing it all down. And food is a familiar comfort.
Yeah.
It's going to love you. You're going to love it back. It's going to make you feel good. If you sit there, eat that whole container of ice cream, you're going to feel good
Yeah.
about it then. And like 5 minutes later, you sit up crying, I can't believe I ate a whole tub of ice cream.
Yeah.
And that just weighs on you. And
Yeah.
I've had people say to me, Mother Love, that's just too much.
Yeah.
That's just too many things that you asking us to do. Hey, y'all, you paying attention with me and Charles Mattocks? We giving you great information. So, that's Kevin. Hey, Kevin and Lady. Yeah, I see y'all. They want me to see I got that camera everywhere, and they know I'm
Yeah.
camera shy. So when you go out, because you speak a lot around the country and around the world,
Yeah.
do you see it making a change, even if it's just one or two people that is it still worth it to you to still be out here? Because our folks do not want to listen. I think you want to listen to me one way or the other.
I'm gonna be honest to you. I'm be honest to you. Not no, it doesn't because we can't. I remember I used to work myself sick with this stuff, and I used to worry myself sick with this stuff because you got this advocacy inside of you. We feel like we're Martin Luther King and Malcolm X of diabetes, and you realize that we're number one. We're not reaching the amount of people that we can. We make very little difference. These companies don't pay us any mind because we're so small. These ad agencies and the marketing companies for these big companies, they can care less about the few people that they think we reach. They don't want to team with us. That's why we started doing other shows, right? Because we've got such a great formula. I realized, Mother Love, that I wasn't an advocate just for diabetes, that I'm an advocate for people,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm an advocate for the underdog. I'm an advocate for anybody who's suffering with anything. So, like when I made the film on my mother's rare disease, CRPS. Um,
Wait, don't go so fast, because see, this is really, really critical. And
yeah.
I was getting ready was see, you stop reading my mind. I just talk about what got you into this finding out. Tell people what that condition is
Yeah.
CRSP.
CRPS. It's
Oh,
complex regional pain syndrome. It used to be called RSD, but it's a really debilitating the disease. It's called a suicide disease because it won't kill you, but it'll make you wish you were dead.
mm.
And it's literally destroyed my mother's life. I mean, she's 83, and she's a totally. I mean, I talked to a friend of ours, who's 83, who's a family friend of my mother's, Miss Chin,
Mm.
and at 83, same age as my mother, she just celebrated, her 40 something, 44-year wedding anniversary. She's at the restaurant, she's eating, drinking, smiling, and laughing and talking. And then I look and I see my mom, who's now bedridden, dealing with Alzheimer's, can't move really, just stuck in the bed, a shell of who she was, and she was a very active woman. And all of this from CRPS. It affects anybody at any time, even children. But that was like one of the first projects after the diabetes one that I did, and that's why I said, I'm an advocate for people, not so much one disease, but for overall people, because at times diabetes is it's a lonely condition to advocate because you don't have people who, of course you get the occasional emails here and there and somebody saying, hey, how can I see your show or something like that, but you don't get that immediate satisfaction where you say, man, I really just changed your life. I mean, you will get it here and there, but It's not something that is that you can carry on, right? And once again, as an advocate, and especially ones like you, whether it's paying for a radio show or if you have an RV or some kind of testing unit that you want to do, and you have all these great ideas and want to pull them, implement them, there's these companies are knocking on our door, talking about, hey, we're going to give you a few dollars to help what you do. They want to pay Anthony Anderson, who who really is just collecting a few $1 million from the ad agency for the company.
And
Just
bully
yeah,
for him, because they don't give a rat's behind about anything that we do. I am
yeah,
glad that he is out there, advocating for people with type 2 diabetes, because it is a killer. And I've
yeah,
seen it, when you talk about the condition that your mother is suffering from,
yeah,
diabetes sometimes make you want to just give up,
yeah,
just get tired,
yeah,
it seems like everything starts breaking down at the same time. Your kidneys not working, your hair is falling out. And this is another thing that that I learned in my journey on diabetes, is how important oral health care is.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
because you think about it, and I ask these doctors, because we work on a national level, and I ask some physicians and clinicians, I talk about the plaque on your heart that gets
mhm,
into your heart veins, right? So I said, is plaque all plaque? Is all plaque the same? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, is the plaque that's on your teeth, if you chip it off and you inadvertently swallow that plaque, can that get attached to your veins? And he said, you know what? We never thought about that. So
mhm,
now they're correlating a better oral hygiene, so that you don't get the plaque, so it doesn't start settling in your heart and in your arteries. So tell
mhm,
us a bit more, some more about the condition that's affecting your mother, because one of the things that I read because I had to pay attention, because you
mhm.
speed up emotion,
Yeah.
um, that when she was going to the doctors, that they were just telling her, "Oh, that's all in your head. You're just a hypochondriac."
Yeah, they do that with a lot of folks because
Mhm,
a lot of people in healthcare, even if they go to the hospital, they've never
mhm,
heard of CRPS.
mhm,
And I have to admit, I kind of felt the same,
mhm.
when she
I've
was
never
telling
heard
me
of
about this. Yeah, I was like, I didn't understand it for a few years
it. Mhm,
until one day I was at her house, and this very strong, black woman who came from, Jamaican black woman who's come from, a hard time in Jamaica to make it in America, was talking about, wishing that she wasn't here. And I'm like, whoa, it's the first time I've ever heard her say anything like that. So that's when it kind of hit me, and I started to do a little research on YouTube and found a couple of cases of people talking about it, and I was blown away about how horrible it was. And that's when I kind of started the documentary and met other people who were living with it, and it was heartbreaking to see these people. So I became a big advocate for them, and I still would love to do another follow up on this on the documentary that I did, because it won a bunch of awards around the world, and it's still seen to this day and still helping people because a lot of their loved ones don't believe them that they're suffering or that they're going through what they're going through.
and diabetes isn't a disease that you could look at somebody and say they got
Yeah,
diabetes. But I take that back, because you can tell there are telltale signs. One
yeah,
of the ones I was surprised about was how you see people that have diabetes that's untreated, their neck
yeah,
is really, really dark.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
the neck gets really, really dark, their
yeah,
knuckles get dark and crusty, their
yep, yep,
elbows, their knees. I mean, like, where you could, like, really scrape the dead skin off with a piece of aluminum foil. And
yeah,
and a lot of people just I think they just get weighed down, because there is so many things to try to keep up with. It is, trying to keep all, and then there's always new information coming out. So you just like,
yeah,
oh, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want to eat. And I'm like, okay. So, and this, I know this, it sounds terrible, but I don't care.
yeah.
I tell people, especially my family members and my friends that I love, that have diabetes and don't want to take care of themselves. I said, well,
uh,
this what I'm gonna do for you.
yeah,
I'm taking out a life insurance policy on you, which I think is stupid, because it should be a death policy, because you're insured to die. You're not insured to live.
hmm,
Nonetheless, sidebar, squirrel. And so I had said, well, no, you gotta. What was I telling you about the diabetes and my sister there? Okay, that they don't take, they don't want anything touching them too much, and I
Mhm.
get that part because when you get to be my age, I ain't really liking clothes and stuff to touch me, but I have to
Mhm.
put it on because they would think something was wrong with me. And
Mhm.
people don't, I mean, it's the little things that you can do, you know,
Mhm.
because like you said earlier, diabetes affects everything from your head to your toes.
Mhm.
I mean, you can have feet amputated, legs amputated. You can go blind. Your kidneys could go out. You could have a stroke. You could have a heart attack. It's
Mhm.
just so many things that can go wrong with you. And one of the biggest things that I found, especially back east, a lot of people with diabetes don't moisturize their skin.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
they think that's kind of vain. But then when they touch my skin, it's like, oh, your skin is so soft like a baby's butt. I'm like, "Yeah." And that's really what we need to do is just the little things. Find a
Yeah.
place that's quiet that
Yeah.
you could go in. You could call us. Tell people how they can get in touch with you. And I want to hear more about this condition and if you know the symptoms because a lot of people got a lot of inflammation, you know.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. If you want to get, I'm easy to find. I mean, Charles Mattocks. You could just Google me at Charles Mattocks. Website is Bella and Ellie Media, BELLAAND Media, MEDIA.com. But literally, if you just Google me, you'll find a bunch of information on me and the shows and the work that we're doing and getting ready to do.
So tell us more about this. Are there symptoms when you found out what her condition was?
Yeah, it's pain, basically. It's, shooting pain, and, it starts usually in one, particular area, whether it's one limb. You can get it even from a mosquito bite, you can get it from, an injection, you can get it from a trip, some kind of, trauma. One little young girl in there, I think, was playing with her dad and twisted the wrong way and ended up getting it. And she, I think she was only like 13 or
Mm.
12 or something, and she'll never be able to eat again because she has gastroparesis, which affects her stomach. So she has to eat from a tube for the rest of her life. So it's a very debilitating condition. So if you're having pain and you don't understand it, and severe pain in one particular limb or one particular region, you might want to ask about CRPS. And like I said, most people would never have heard about it. So it's one of those things that even if you go to the emergency room, they're not going to know what it is. And a lot of them don't get diagnosed for years. So it's something to look into. But
Is are there treatments for it? Is it still in the research stage of what they can do to manage the pain?
well, they're using things like ketamine,
Mhm.
and then just pain medication. There's a few things called a few little devices that they use, calamari, which is a device that they use. Uh, and one or two others it doesn't come to my mind, but most of them don't work. Pain stimulators and things like that, most of them don't work, and they end up having to get the pain stimulators taken out because they just didn't work for them, which is big money in putting them in and taking them out.
Women,
um,
do they put this inside of a person's body?
yeah, the pain stimulators, you put them inside the body, and then you have to, like I said, most of them don't work for a lot of people. Sending them, taking them out. So no, there really isn't any, and because it's a rare disease that no per se celebrity has. Paula Abdul has it, but she doesn't really talk about it.
Oh,
So there's not a big name attached to it, and also there's not big money in pharma to be made from it, right? Because if you find a cure that you spent $1 billion, or $2 billion to find a cure for, but yet only a few 100,000 people have it, there's no money in that. So why would you go and spend a few $1 billion to get something to pass through all these rigorous tests and exams and things like that, only for a few 100,000 people?
on that note, it has always fascinated me how big pharma will push a drug out like that hasn't maybe it just it seemed like they just pushed it out too fast. One day
Mm-hmm.
we have it, the next day we don't. One day we don't have it, the next day we do have it. And then they tell you, oh, 2 or 3 years down the line that
Mm-hmm.
that medication might cause different kind of side effects, just like metformin. They
Mm-hmm.
had this big thing about metformin. If you haven't taken metformin and you have this, that, and the third, call our law offices. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and then I found out that big pharma, when they're going into especially human clinical trials for a drug and it's looking
Mm-hmm.
promising, they take a chunk of that money for that drug and put it to the side in case
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
of course, of course, of course, of
Mesothelioma, you hear
course.
it every day. Mesothelioma,
Oh yeah,
they got $30 billion. It's like they can't give this $30 billion away.
yeah,
And what are they
yeah,
supposed to do with it?
yeah,
And especially the chronic conditions. And
yeah,
you said it's not a life-threatening situation that your mother has, but it's so painful.
yeah.
And listening to you talk about this, a couple of years ago, I was stricken with sciatica.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what it was, didn't
Mm-hmm.
know anything about it. I thought I was going literally, I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I was this is just too much. For a year and a half, I was on my back with sciatica. All I
Mm-hmm.
could do was get up and go to the bathroom, get up
Mm-hmm.
and come in here and talk on the radio program. And then
Mm-hmm.
just as sudden as it came on, just went away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I took all kind of tests and they all kept saying, "Well, it's sciatica." I'm like, "Well, where did it come from?" And I
Mm-hmm.
got the skinny on it, and I see people that are on walkers that are so heavy, so heavy. They're on walkers, they're on canes, and I could see them that a lot of them are dealing with sciatica, and I wouldn't wish that off on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, you got a worst enemy at Mother Love. Shut up talking. I wouldn't wish that off on anybody. So
Yeah.
is there any comfort that your mother finds, any kind of relief of the pain, of the inflammation? Because when you sore like that and your joints are screaming, it's really
Yeah.
hard to think logically.
Yeah. No, not necessarily. And and the thing is that because they've cracked down on, opiates, that a lot of these people who actually need these pain medicines aren't getting them, right? Because, I hate to say it. I mean, if you're in, I don't think if you haven't experienced pain, and a lot of us, may not really have understood pain, but if you haven't experienced pain, you can't imagine what it's like. I mean, just imagine hitting your toe on the side of the bed, right? Now, we all know that that's some sharp pain, but just imagine that 24 hours of the day, going up from your toe, going up your leg. And that's the pain that you have to feel. And it's even sometimes worse than that. That's why it's called, they attach flames to it and things like that, because it feels like literally you're on fire at times, and it's really hot. And actually, there was a film that was on Netflix, the big film that was, finding, it was, something Amy. Man, I can't remember, but it
It's
was
gonna come to you in the middle of the night.
yeah,
Wait, mother, let this.
it was a big Netflix TV series that did really, really, really well, and the young girl, um, had CRPS,
Mhm,
and it was used, so that brought some attention to it. But it was also about neglect in the healthcare system, but it was really big.
mhm. So here we are in the 21st century, still having people, because I'm from the Jetson age. I mean, I remember the cartoon, the Jetsons, and they had
Yeah,
all the speedy stuff. And I watched Star Trek, the original one that was created by Gene Roddenberry, and he had
yeah,
so many different things going on that we are using as everyday tools that we would have never even thought about. He had that.
yeah,
Remember, he used to have a thing, beam what's up, Scotty, flip phone.
yeah, yeah,
Remember, I said they
yeah,
put you in a chamber and scan your body,
yeah,
MRI. So
yeah,
I'm like, okay, we can make the strides
yeah,
when we want to. And I
yeah.
think do you think this will ever happen? I'm just asking that we'll get big pharma out of people's health care. Because they used to have like, the pharmaceutical representatives, and they would come and wine and dine the doctors and the heads of the hospitals. And that part was like really great. Then they just stopped it altogether. And
Yeah.
so I'm wondering how are they pushing these drugs out so rapidly, you
Mm.
know? And when you think about it, a lot of them, if you don't know, a lot of them are the same drug with a different name. They got
Yeah.
the same makeup on it, and it's a different drug. It's a different package, and they're
Yeah.
making so much money off
Yeah.
of diabetes. Over $350 billion
Yeah. Yeah.
every 365 days.
Yeah.
How come we can't just get the interest on that? We going
Yeah.
out here in the community and letting people know, and it is a lot. It is a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, I've had people cry on me about how they felt so out of control. Did you
Yeah.
ever feel like when you got diagnosed, uh, out of control? Well, you already told me you cheated sometimes,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
cheat.
Yeah.
But you gotta know what you're cheating on, and you
Yeah.
gotta know what you're cheating with. And the
Yeah.
one thing I gotta tell you, when you go and see your primary care physician, please be honest with them
Yeah.
because they cannot effectively treat you if they really don't know the truth. And
Yeah.
we'll hold some stuff back. Like I take my blood sugar twice a day. I still
Yeah.
take my blood sugar twice a day, and
Yeah.
I eat off a small plate. You can make small choices. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like when I quit smoking, I would take the cigarette and the ashtray and put it at the farthest point in my house. I would have to make an effort to go and smoke the cigarette. Then I would
Mhm.
say, okay, well, 15 minutes, I'm not going to smoke a cigarette. And by the time I got through with it, the day was over and I
Yeah.
quit smoking. Okay, it wasn't like a big thing, except I was too cheap to pay $2 for a pack of cigarettes. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I this could kill me. You could leave them right there. Haven't smoked a
Yeah.
cigarette since. So I know that it can be done. And
Yeah.
that's all we're asking is pay attention to your body.
True.
Were you paying attention to your body before they diagnosed you? Or did you ignore?
Once again, I thought I was,
Right.
and I think a lot of us think that we're actually healthy
Mm.
until we realize that we're not actually healthy. And what's interesting is as we're talking now, and I don't know if it came from, someone watching your show, but I literally just had a message with somebody asking with CRPS where to buy the DVD because I was selling a DVD of the documentary. So they said, "Where's the best place to buy it?" Thank you, CRPS Warrior. 13 years now for me, and spreading. So that's how
That's
powerful
encouraging.
that this series really is. That as we're talking right now, someone sent a message regarding wanting to buy a DVD. So we know we're doing good work, and I commend you too as well. Like I said, for you to still be fighting for diabetes, after so long and doing it really on your own at this point is commendable because it shouldn't not be talked about.
It
And
shouldn't. It can't not be talked about. And
yeah,
as a talk show host extraordinaire, I'm gonna
yeah,
talk about it. And nobody said it was gonna be easy. Did nobody say, this would be a piece of cake or walk in the park? No, it's not. What it
mm,
is you getting into the right mentality to change your lifestyle. You getting in the right spirit to know that God did not bring you here for no reason. God don't do happen chance and God don't make junk. So I'm
yeah,
telling you, nope, I'm not going for it. And I let them have their pity party. You can cry all over I'll take a towel with me because
yeah,
I don't want them messing up my skirt with their Jerry curl juice.
yeah,
I know it's not all Jerry curl juice that's over, but you get and oftentimes I do feel like I'm just on this island by myself. But you know what? I'd
yeah,
rather be in a storm and knowing that I'm doing everything I can to let
yeah,
people know you can live well. You don't have to be downtrodden with this. You don't
mm,
have to just sit back and say, "Oh well, they told me my kidneys are failing," and you're not gonna do anything about it.
yeah,
That's one of our dear friends. He got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes,
yeah,
and at the time he was overweight and he was kind of sloppy and lethargic. But once he found out that his kidneys were not operating at
yeah,
100%,
yeah,
I'm telling you, man, he
yeah,
looked better than he did when we was in
yeah,
college.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
his skin looked good, everything. And what I noticed too is like people from back east, especially up where it's cold. When my husband and I would go back home, go back to Cleveland or wherever we were going back east, they would always say, "You guys look so good. Your skin looks so
yeah,
healthy."
yeah,
I was like,
Yeah.
moisturize.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't have
yeah,
to moisturize. There's a Vaseline to work real, real well. And
yeah,
people,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Learn
yeah,
how to cook. Learn
yeah,
how to eat the right amount of food. You don't have to
yeah,
gorge yourself. There are little things that you can do. Look at your food like from the earth. This is what God gave you to eat. All we got, my great grandma used to say, baby, go on out there in that orchard and pick me some of them apples off that tree over there in the orchard.
yeah.
Pull me up some stuff over there, pulled it up, rinse that off, and bite it just like that. One of my
Yeah,
things is I like raw potatoes.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could
Wow.
eat a raw potato, and the red was one of my favorite. What is wrong with that child? Why?
Yeah,
And I love raw onions. Now,
right.
I can't take it. My body, and I can't take all of that. So now tell me
And
where they can get the DVD.
yeah, no, we don't. No DVD. We just. It's actually I put it on YouTube for free, because it aired on PBS and a lot of
Mhm.
other places now.
Okay.
So I just put it out there for free. It's on Glued TV and places like that. And one last point I'll make too as well, because you mentioned doctors. You have to realize, and whether it's diabetes or any other condition that you deal with, but especially now we're talking about, let's say, type 2 diabetes. Find the right doctor, because the key is that a lot of these doctors, they go in there and they got more attitude than anything, right? They rush you in. They barely have any real words of wisdom for you. They don't, at times they know less about health, to be honest, than you might, right? So I remember I went to go see my doctor, maybe a couple months back, and once again, cholesterol is a big myth. That it is actually the books.
I hate to cut you off. They getting ready to cut us off. Child,
Okay,
it is always a joy to
thank you,
talk to
sis.
you.
Thank you, thank you,
Listen, please come back and keep up with us, ladies and gentlemen. Check out his website. This is a
thank you,
cool
sis.
guy, and you look good. You always
Ah,
look.
ah.
Thank you, baby. Enjoy yourself. We'll talk soon.